Hello everybody, it's Zorak. Ooh, Zorblack! Oh my gosh, that's fire! I am now be called Zorblack. Address me only as Zorblack! Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the stream. Oh man. Okay, let's go ahead and share this on all the social medias. Okay, go ahead and share in my favorite group. I almost never respond to. Hashtag love, hashtag RPG. And yeah, I think that'll do. Okay. So hey guys and gals, welcome to the live stream. We are going to be tackling more game stuff. Let's go ahead and load that bad boy up, shall we? I showed this to somebody else the other day, and we were talking a little bit about what it actually is and all that stuff, but what it can actually mean. And I guess I think I really do want this thing out more than almost anything else. It's like the one type of things where, you know, you finish that and you can die happy, you know, even if it's like just a half of the beta. But the fact that I finished it after all this time would just tickle me pink. What do the expressions like they even mean? I got tickled pink. Like, ooh, that sounds kind of weird and unhealthy. It's a weird thing to say. Anyway. But this is one of those type of things where, you know, it's bigger than what we think it is. But I've talked about that a little bit before. Because people are going to think that, you know, a game like this has lowered the standards of Christian gaming because of the moral standards of Christian gaming. It's kind of like, you just don't think. Oh, okay, so I didn't read this book, but I listened to the books. I didn't have time to sit down and read it. And it's by Napoleon Hill. And I'm not even going to give you the name of the book. But the claim is that because people don't think, like, Satan himself pretty much has them in their back pocket. Because of one main thing that people don't actually think. They just go along with whatever. They go along with the idea that, you know, because mommy and daddy told me. That's all that they need. And I'm not dogging mommy and daddy or that understanding of things, because I think that it is important to obey your parents, as long as they're correct about certain things, right? It's like, okay, go to college, get a good job, and work for 40 years. Does that sound like not something that they did? Because in their generation, that was like a much easier life. You know? It's a much easier life. In contrast to where their parents grew up. But now, is the same thing true? And fudge no, it's not true anymore. That whole idea is pretty much dead. You know, life has taken the form and direction that it's going to take and form. So the idea that you're going to, you know, work for that long and it's all going to be Gucci, as the kids say, is an ineffective and antiquated idea. And people know that in the back of their head, but they don't want to necessarily say anything or think anything about it. Like, I was talking to one of my homies the other day, because like I said, I'm an entrepreneur, and so therefore I like to give opportunities to some people and everything. And works at a factory. And that factory is known to buy people out. And I was like, hey, keep your options open. You know, because my concern for you is that that's short money. That's very short money. So what are you gonna do when that much? You know, what's are you keeping your options open? You know, because I wasn't going to sit there and directly ask them that. You know, because I guess it's a debate and trying to like change to my life and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But like, maybe I should have. I don't know. But it was just kind of like, no. And it's kind of like, why no? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know this is going to happen. And it's amazing how some people don't even want to think about that. They think that it's somehow going to just, you know, what they're going to do or whatever, you know. And I'm just like, huh. So I don't know whether or not, I don't know what that thought process is about, but it couldn't be thinking right. Hopefully, my homie has a plan and all that good stuff. I'm hoping that. I really, really am hoping that. If you're listening, isn't that a diss on you? But this is about, you know, thinking and not thinking. Trust my homeboy to think past things, but if he's not, in this particular instance, you know, then, you know, what does the future look like for he and his family? It's like, you know, is there a way to build in the future? Is there a way to do these things? And what is the actual plan on paper? You know, like a plan on paper is an actual thing. Success is a scheduled planned event. So what is the actual plan then? Hoping that that's the actual plan. But some people do not plan that type of stuff at all. And then they wonder why they're frustrated, why the man is getting ahead of them, blah, 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 blah. Usually the man has a schedule. I'm just going to be real about that. The man, and all of his shapes and forms and iterations and things like that throughout in the years, the man has a plan. Man with a plan. The man has a plan. That's why he's the man. That's exactly why. So the scratch your head and you're like, oh no, what happened? It's like, that's kind of the problem. You don't know what happened. And because of that, the enemy can just go in there and do all kinds of things to your life that you were woefully prepared for. You know? You thought this and you thought that and blah 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 blah, you know? And when it's all said and done, because there was no actual thinking or direction going or whatever, the enemy is able to put you in his back pocket because of the fact that, well, he's not doing anything with his life. So, Dance Puppet, he's kind of a prick that way. You know, bow down to every single whim and woe that you have in your lustful little heart in terms of whatever form that lust takes, and let that be that. I mean, what could be better other than it's making you miserable? See, that's the thing about it. A lot of that stuff just makes you miserable, and we don't want to, like, actually. We seem not to want to realize, you know, that stuff actually does make you miserable. Like, if you're, it's kind of like binge watching on Netflix series. Like, after you're done, because all the flashing lights and all the stuff that's, you know, happened within the show, and a lot of times, you know, has affected you in a weird way, and you just don't feel good about yourself. You're happy you watched it. You're like, wow, that's a really, really good show and everything, you know, and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But you spend so much time doing that your body's kind of like, bruh, what did you do? You know, it's like you put yourself into a trance almost, and then you're like, I don't know what to do with the rest of myself. I guess go on to the next one. And you're just kind of binging your life away. Next thing you know. So it's like, well, is that okay? Is that normal? So, but that was his claim. His claim was that if you don't think that you are going to be a person that is just kind of out there, like a turd in the wind. So I think people who think are very, very useful and very, very successful people a lot of times know how to think for themselves, who are adult enough to think for themselves. and think about their future. And I get it, like sometimes the future can be hard to think about. It's like, because you just feel sometimes it's like stuck and trapped and things like that, you know. But at a certain point in time, there's got to be a decision to actually live. And like for real live too. There's got to be some kind of decision to for real live. Because another entity will live through you if you don't. And that entity in particular hates your guts and is trying to kill you. That's just kind of the way that it is. It's always crazy too. It's like people are talking about, you know, the things that go bump in the night. You know, I'm not scared of the things that go bump in the night. I'm scared of the things that are under the hypnotism of the influence of the things that would be bumping in the night and call you best friend. That's what you need to be scared of. You need to be scared of who your best friend is. That's what you need to be scared of. You need to be scared of who you call friends. You need to be terrified of that. Because whoever you call friends, those are the ones that you put your life in their hands. It's the friends. It's the friends. So you don't have actual friends. I'm talking about friends. Friends are people who actually look after your best interest. And, you know, they're not trying to get you high and drunk and everything else, you know, all the time because they're miserable, so they want you to be miserable with them. That's not a friend. That's a co-pilot of destruction. And they want to drag you along with them because they're so selfish. They don't want to do it alone. They don't want to die in misery alone. That's not a friend. A friend was there to piss you off, to tell you no, because they love you and because they had their best interest out for you. To tell you that something is stupid, or to challenge you, to try to save you from what they think is going to be a bad decision. They're not always right. But at least do that, at the very least. So, who's your friend? You know? Who is your friend? Because if you don't have... Who are you calling friends to say that? Because if you don't have someone that's ready to do that, you have a major problem. And you better find yourself a friend. Like, I speak friends into your life in the name of Jesus. Like, that's how bad you need an actual friend. Someone who's not afraid to be the bad guy sometimes. You know? And we're not talking about like chat stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, hey, I want to chat with my buddies, you know what I'm saying? It's not that kind of thing. For real, who's your face-to-face friends? Or who you're calling friends? Are they destructive? And then look at your life. Is that destructive? Is that filled with the very, very things that are hurting you? Do they do all the things that actually end up hurting you? Are they dragging you to and through their own destruction and having you watch. And are they just calling it fun? Well, you know it's not fun. It is forgetting your future. Because you don't want to think about it because you don't think you have a future. Isn't that what it really is at the end of the day? What most people call fun is using substances and alcohol and a lot of other things, and even TV or whatever else, video games, as I'm ironically making one. But it is the use of them. It's using them to forget the fact that you don't think that you have a future because you don't think that you have a future because you think that you suck. You know? Isn't that what it really is? Isn't that what TGIF is all about? Trying to forget about Monday. Isn't that what it really is? You know? Isn't that what spend all that time on money, on booze and everything else, you know, and tons of video games that you know you ain't gonna play and everything. Isn't that what it's really all about? I'm talking to myself right now too. Isn't that what it's really about? Let's just all work together and sell product to forget about Monday. The fact that I don't have a future. But I would argue that you do have a future. And that future is whatever it is that you want it to be, at least in this country. I mean, we have... That's the toughest thing about this country, right? For every excuse that you have about why you're not able to make it, someone in pretty much almost your exact circumstance or worse made it. There's a contradiction for every excuse that you have to offer. There's a contradiction for every excuse that you have to offer. So it's like, okay, you're saying that, you know, you're just SOL because of these circumstances. I'm not even making light of those circumstances, whatever they may actually be. I really am not. But I'm saying that like there is somebody out there that has done it. Sometimes with less. You know? Some people were dumpster diving for years. And they just got tired of dumpster diving. And then they worked themselves up, and now they're motivational speakers and they're all kinds of things, you know? But it was only when they started to actually freaking like themselves. That's the main thing that gives you a future. You actually liking yourself. And you speaking good things over yourself. That alone has to have you activate your brain. Because you have the enemy telling you how much you suck. And holding you in guilt and condemnation like forever. You've got that going on. And you have to be a little wiser in terms of actually knowing how to combat that. Because, like, you just can't be unfocused like that. You can't. Otherwise, you're dead. I mean, for real, it's not even like trying to be hyperbolic about that. I mean, you're dead. You're dead or you're living dead. Either way, you're kind of SOL. You're screwed. So, going back to what my initial point was, is that, you know, people who actually think will actually get this game right here, or understand this game, and people who actually do are very, very devoted to it. And that's great. But those are guys and gals that I've noticed that think for themselves. And that's reassuring. That's good. That's really good. So when I think about that, I think about, you know, what it means to not think and what that means overall, and how easy it is to fall into the boogeyman's traps. And how many of us do, simply because, you know, we don't want to think about Monday because we don't like ourselves, because we don't think we have a future. Ain't that something? Ain't that some sad ish? I mean, for real, it is. Sad stuff right there. I wish it wasn't, though. I really wish it wasn't. But that is the first thing that you can do to push back against that thought process. Or lack of thought process, to say. That's one of the first things that you can really do. And I hope that you choose to. The Bible says that we're made in the image of God. It's wrong. Variable. Okay, no, we're right. Huh. I did a lot of wrong things then. I start realizing that. Ugh. But anyway, I hope that you choose a different path. But what I was gonna say was that if you check it out this way, it's like God created man in his image, and he used the word to speak to the day to tell it what to do. So shouldn't we do the same? Shouldn't we tell our days what to do instead of being ruled by our days? What type of day do you want to have? Do you wake up telling your day out loud what to do? Some of y'all would feel a lot better if you did. And for Christians who are like, Your will be done. I agree. But once you know what the will actually is, you gotta actually plan to do it. You know? You have to actually plan to do it. It can't be this foolishness where you're hoping God does this and you're hoping God does that. Because he's not going to do anything other than what you have faith to actually do. So I kind of paraphrase it this way: God's blessings at the top of the mountain. God's blessings always going to be at the top of the mountain. And when you reach the summit of the mountain, you're now much stronger and much more durable if you learned a whole lot more in order to tell someone else how to climb that mountain. Because it can't be all about you. God does not like it when people make it all about them. If God is showing you that your will be done, and you know what the will of God is in your life, and you don't move forward with that, and you don't plan your day to rotate around that will of God, that's faith without works right there. It's a bunch of foolishness. So so you gotta have to kind of cut the piety. Because if you don't know how to plan your day out to surround yourself with the will of God, you just might be using that as an excuse to sit around and do nothing because I don't know what the will of God is in my life. Yeah, you do. It's a thing that's been in there for a long time. It's a thing that keeps you up at night. It's a thing that you feel so passionate about, just eats you up just thinking about it. That is at least the hint of the will of God in your life. That's the hint. That's the hint. And following Christ is manifesting the truth of the initial hint. So, like a guy like Michael Jackson, all the talent that he had, and the ability that he had, he never did really manifest what God truly wanted him to do. Never did. Not even after all that. Never did. Even the hint of what he was doing, though, did a lot of people a lot of good in terms of a lot of his music and things like that. It did. It absolutely did. But it didn't get at what he was truly supposed to be doing and how he was truly supposed to be serving Christ. So if you can go that far and you're only a half-mast, imagine with someone who is actually dedicated and wants to manifest what God wants to have in their life. Imagine that. Imagine Michael Jackson, you know what I'm saying, filled with the Holy Ghost. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been a different beast altogether right there, bruh. Would love to have seen that. That would have been really, really cool to see. And I personally think that's why celebrities get harassed and beat up as much as they do. It's like the enemy knows, like, you know, if I can just get them to turn their brain off and not think, that I can make sure that they never manifest what they're truly capable of. I make sure that I keep them away from that, from the King of Glory. You know, I can keep them away from that. You know? Fascinating to see what happens to people sometimes. One of my buddies rededicated his life to Christ. Haven't seen or heard from him since. Hey, you give your life to Christ, you know, it's gonna be wonderful. It's like, pfft. I mean, a lot of people that way. It gets harder. Now there's a target on your back. The target on your back now. I'm sure you don't want to think about that either, do we? But I would love to see kingdom people step up to be kingdom people. I would love to see that. But it takes the believer growing a pair and actually making Jesus their Lord or Master. I'm talking about Savior. That's already been taken care of for the believer. But the Lord, why do you call me Lord, Lord, if you don't obey the commandments that I give you? So, is your day planned? Is your doggone day planned? Already come up with excuses about why you suck and you. And that's another thing about about believers. They can be some of the most self-centered people that you know. Because here's the thought process, right? Or lack thereof. Now, I used to do this too. It's so about them and getting the doctrines and stuff right. And making sure that they're alright before God. That they never think about like them being an impact or influence for anyone else. They don't think about what their money can mean to somebody else, or their, should I say not just money, but their resources. They don't think about what they can mean to somebody else. They don't think about how they can serve because they think that they suck. Because God's up there, you know, say up in a relative sense because the world's round. But like the God's up there, you know, looking at how terrible they are and everything, and so therefore you breed more insecurity, and you call that Christianity. A bunch of insecure people never manifesting their faith because they think that they suck, because they don't edify each other, because they're too worried about their doctrine being proper, so that they can say, well, you know, I got this right. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. It's all about you. It's all about you and your report card. I see. I see. I see. I wish it wasn't that way, though. Oh. Okay, that's why it's confusing me. Jeez. Okay, well. I don't know what to do with this. No, that's Biggs. So Biggs is 3. And what's 2? Second Dudley. Okay, that's what the problem is. Jeez. I'm trying to make sure I don't have doubles and duplicates and things like that. That's why I'm going through all this stuff right now. But anyway. So we just gotta think about these things. That's all, guys. Guys and gals, cats and kittens. You know. Just gotta really think about these things, even though we don't want to, and even though it makes us uncomfortable. I hate that word too. Comfortable. If anything drove more ideas and to the grave, it's always been comfort. Jeez, I don't want to think about that sometimes. There I go. I'm not comfortable doing this. So? Only us in America could get away with stuff like that. Could you imagine, like, somebody in some of these other countries? It's like, hey, we need to get up, get the plow going and everything, you know, so we can do things like eat and live, right? And then the kid goes, I don't feel comfortable doing that right now. It's just like, we have to eat and live. Get out there. Yeah, only we in America try to get away with stuff like that. I don't feel comfortable. Or do it until you feel comfortable. You know, we act like if we ask somebody to do something uncomfortable, we've violated them. It's like, no, in most instances, we grew them the heck up. Stop being so self-centered and self-focused. Like, you may not feel uncomfortable doing something sometimes, you know, but it can help someone else out. So give it a shot. You can do it. And then when someone tries it, you're just like, oh, this feels a lot better. Now I'll feel useful to my community and things like that. Kind of nice. If anyone's getting triggered by, you know what I'm saying, possibility of abuse and things like that, we're not talking about abuse. That's something else entirely. You know, it's kind of like, you know, talking about masculinity. It's like, well, males are against us. Okay, well, no, we're not talking about being stupid. We're talking about masculinity. I'm not feeling bad for being a male, a heterosexual male in the slightest. And I'm not going to say that anything that I do and say is toxic either. I'm going to say that that's being a jerk or an idiot in the much broader sense. Like, she's a real female dog. He's like, no, she's a jerk. That guy, he's so toxic. No, he's a jerk. See, that person's toxic, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like an attribute exclusively for a gender. You can be a crap person either way. You can be a bully either way. The bullying manifests itself differently, but you're still being bullied. If you use, like, women have a tendency to use manipulation to be bullies. If you make someone feel bad about this, you know what I'm saying? I want to make someone feel bad. Usually because they feel bad. And that's how women gotta bully each other around. Watch Mean Girls. You know? Made a full movie about it. It's being mean. It's not so much physical, it's emotional. My wife and I talked about that one time. About how women bully each other more emotionally. Dudes are just freaking terrorists. We get more physical. We hit and make fun of, you know what I'm saying? Just ride, you know. And it's not even because, you know, and we're not thinking about making the other person feel bad. We're just having fun at the other person's expense. And we're just doing things to do them to somebody. So I used to be one of the I lived in like a, you know, a little middle class home and everything, so I hung with middle class kids. So I would be in on bullying people. I know that's kind of hard to imagine, you know, because people see me in real life. I weigh like 5 pounds. I've always weighed 5 pounds, you know. Except they changed Jesus' name. I'm getting tired of looking so skinny. But it's not even. It's almost not even a personal thing. It's just like a thing. I don't know what it is. It's not good. But it's this physical thing where you just kind of, you know, push them, throw things at them, you know what I'm saying? Slap them upside the head, all kinds of weird stuff like that, you know? So that's why I don't believe in necessarily, you know, having this attribute prescribed only to one gender or one kind of persons or whatever. It's kind of like, you know, this can be in plenty of trouble. People talking about race, how the white man's so evil, everyone's evil. Like everyone is just like has the capability to do awful, awful stuff. Everyone does. You know, white people think that they like invented violence or something stupid like that. And they're like, no, you didn't. All the Native Americans were living here peacefully, you know what I'm saying? And no one had any type of conflict or whatever. It's like, yeah, they did. There are people here. White people get along with each other just fine. Have you asked the Scottish and the Irish? It doesn't matter about race. People are just terrible to each other. People of the same faith are going to war right now. Ask the Sunnis and the Shiites. It's like, I beg to disagree with you. Alright, I shall now kill you. You know, like, people are just dumb. Terrible. You can't regulate it to a one race, especially a one race. Cause that's melanin, that's the amount of melanin in your skin. That's dumb. So I like to look at it more as culture. Like you can, like little Japanese kids, you know what I'm saying, could be completely just immersed in like a hip hop culture to where they have the swagger, they have the way that they speak, talk, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, they're not black, they're in hip hop culture. A lot of the culture of hip hop started out in a predominantly black neighborhood with the Puerto Ricans, black people out there in New York with Cool Herc. So I get New York and Chicago always, you know, twisted, so I apologize for my hip hop heads. But you know, really hip hop is that block culture. It's the culture of the block at that point in time, and they manifested it, getting rid of the disco stuff. They just took the breaks in between that and just made music out of that with a drum machine, and they made this thing. But that culture in the Bronx is what started this huge movement. But anyone who's in that movement is part of that block culture now. And everything else that they brought with that music. That's culture right there. And you can't sit there and say that, you know, one culture is, you know, is worse than the other either. That's a bunch of crap. You know? I was pretty sure that hip-hop almost tore itself apart, you know what I'm saying? The whole Biggie Tupac thing. That was inside the culture. You know? You still beef with people. I mean, there's a whole thing called beef. Will rappers be beef with other rappers? Is there peace within that? No. Wherever you go, you're going to find dumb human beings with lots of egos and all this other stuff, and you're going to have violence, manipulations, whatever you want to call it, whatever's going to be specific to whatever that person grew up with, or gender, or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? There's going to be dumb, stupid stuff for every culture, creed, race, religion, whatever it is, because people are dumb. Wherever you take them, you're going to find dumb somewhere. So to try to say that, you know, oh my gosh, my people are so evil. No, everyone's evil. That's why we need Jesus. Because y'all really be proving it in the bathroom, in public bathrooms, y'all really be proving y'all need Jesus been there. It's like, see, I told you need Jesus. Look at this. Why is the floor completely wet? Gosh. gross. Oh boy. And Wu-Tang's for the children. These are very long rants that I go on, aren't they? I went from talking about this game right here to racing culture and things like that. Oh my goodness. But I'm about to bounce out of here pretty soon. Yeah. I'll stick around a little bit longer if someone actually wants to join in and everything, but hasn't been much activity on either Watch Me Work Network or the just YouTube. But for people chiming in later on during the day, gosh, I appreciate you guys so much. I really do. I think you guys are I think you guys are the thinkers. And I'm really proud of you guys for thinking. Because I know with this little thing I'm making right here, there's going to be a lot of people who don't think, who are just going to react. And say that I am evil for making something like this that has violence in it, that has all kinds of stuff that the world has to deal with in it. I just want us to think, grow up a little bit, deal with some of the complicated issues of life, and put that in our media so that we stop making the God that we serve so small and weak. You know, I think that God deserves better than to be depicted as a weakling. That he can only help with surface level issues. Like, I saw something the other day. I was watching Daredevil. And people in the secular world want to always bring up the story of Job. And they always get it wrong. The point I'm making about this is the fact that we can't let the world depict us all the time. You know? Not necessarily on our side here. But I think that Daredevil does a good job of giving it some kind of depiction of some kind of honor. Barely. But talk about the story of Job. And he says that, you know, God murdered his entire family for being a faithful servant, you know. And I'm like, that is not how that story goes. God didn't murder crap. What are you talking about? And like Matt Murdock's supposed to be this big theologian or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, you're a terrible theologian then. You don't know anything. Like, go back. You know, I wouldn't say go back to Sunday school because that place is awful too. But dear God, man. I think what people miss a lot of times with that story is that of just how evil Satan actually is. He brought that up in front of God to torment Job. Now, does Satan have to Satan? No. I was thinking about it. Satan doesn't have to Satan all the time. He made his choice. And makes his choice. And is mad because he made the wrong choice. So Satan's all the time. And God says, alright, go ahead and Satan. If that's what you want to do. Are you going to basically mess with this guy who hasn't done anything to you? You're just jealous. You know? You're just jealous. You're just petty. You're just mean. So are you really going to do this? Didn't skip a beat. He's the one that killed everybody. He wasn't commanded by God to do anything. The command that he had, that God gave, was that you can go this far if you're going to go there, but you don't go this far. You put him on a leash. Otherwise, if you hadn't put him on a leash, he would have destroyed him utterly and killed him. To me, that story is about just how awful Satan actually is. And he left out the part where, you know, because of Job's faithfulness and him not confessing that he had done something evil to God to deserve all that, and that there are things going on that's bigger than him, because of that understanding that he had, and because he watched his confession, because all his friends want him to confess death over himself, to give Satan the ultimate power over him. He did not do that. And because he didn't do that, God was able to restore him to a double portion of everything that he lost. Did you forget that part? Because he did not make bad confession over himself, the way his friends said that he should make bad confession over himself, God was able to restore him a double portion of everything that was taken from him by Satan. That is what that story is about. It is about confession and faithfulness and knowing where you stand with God. And just how much of a prick Satan can be. But you know, we can go ahead and be a bunch of Christians who sit around, you know what I'm saying? And I'm talking to Christians right now. A bunch of Christians who just sit around and say that, you know, oh, Netflix is just so violent and everything, you know, so let's just stay away from everything that is entertainment so that we can raise our children to be afraid of things rather than actually engage them. Yeah, let's do that. Gosh. Doesn't make any sense. Now, a lot of times creators don't want to create for the kingdom because they know it's not going to give them any money. How about this? Make money other places in other ways, but make this one for God. And maybe even taking the resources that you do have, pouring it into the thing that's not going to make you money and everything. But I believe that God is faithful. That's what we read in Job. You don't make bad confession and speak evil over ourselves the way our friends want us to speak evil over ourselves. Be humble. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean... Because being humble to a lot of people means I'm going to say self-deprecating things and I'm going to say how awful I am and how much I suck and things like that. That's not being humble. It's not false humility. That's actually about you and your ego. Being humble is knowing the power that you have and where you stand and who you are, and not using that for self-centered ego building. That's what being humble is about. Even by you confessing that, you know, I'm so humble, it lets me know about how humble you are not. Because then you're just puffing yourself up about how awesomely humble you are. So, what do you do? What do you do? I think that a person has to reconcile all these things to themselves and go on that journey. But I think that believers have to kind of wake up here. So we're talking about the will of God and everything. What are you doing? I know what it is, but because it's not lucrative or it makes me uncomfortable or because of this, because of that, or because I don't like myself, because I don't want to think about it. All these reasons to not do the will of God and manifest it in the earth. All these reasons. But I think if you did, and if we do, we'll be a lot happier. Because it won't be about us then. It'll be about all the people that were blessed by you manifesting the thing that God has and put inside you. That right there is kind of nice. I think one of the type of things that overlooked a lot of times too is like, did you help someone today? Hope so. Didn't it feel good to help somebody else? There's something about that community, even on a biological level, that's just like, you need a sense to belong. It's just like, well, you don't belong because you might be a selfish little person right now. You know, how can I serve? Let's find out. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say c'est la vie. You can find out ways to support me in the links in the description below. It's been a big blessing to be amongst you guys and everything. I hope you guys take care of each other and take care of yourselves and understand that you don't suck. You made some stupid choices. There's a difference. Doesn't mean that you suck. It means that your decision making sucks. But a lot of times your decision making is based on the people around you. So, you know, if you want to do better, just be around people who make better decisions. How do I know people who make better decisions? By their lifestyle. Is it on fire? You know, if someone's house is on fire, you may not want to take home care lessons from them. But if someone has a nice home, is put together, they don't have a lot of drama going on and things like that, a lot of distractions like that, you know, they would relate to people well and, you know, live a simplistic kind of life, you know, then yeah, you probably want to hang around people like that a little bit more. And that'd be like your plateau right there. But if you want to, like, you know, begin to manifest, you know, the thing that God has for you, if you're a musician or you're an artist or whatever, you know, hang around more artists and musicians who are actually going to places, who are actually growing. How do I know if someone's growing? Are they at a place, different place than they were last year or last month? Okay, see, it's growing. You don't want to get around somebody just doing nothing but talking all the time. Talking about what they're gonna do, talking about this, talking about that, you know, you don't want to be around people like that, because all they do is talk. They talk a good game, but when it's time to put up and shut up, they fold every time. So, yeah, doesn't mean you suck. It means that your decision making might suck right now. Which means that it can change anytime that you want to change. But you have to get out of your head that you suck. My goodness. You don't suck. You're awesome. You're wonderfully and fearfully made. You know, all of us are. I hope that you meet Jesus. You know, not the idea of Jesus, but actually you get to for real meet him. Like, you know, when you're alive. But I hope that you do. When I met him in 2008, after I had been in church for years, I was agnostic and everything. And when I repented, as in I wanted to turn away and have a different lifestyle, I wanted to have the lifestyle that he wanted for me. I just felt as though that was right. And I gave my life to him. I repented, and that's when I met him for the first time, and I was like, oh, you're real. Wow. Wow. And you understand, this game is an old idea. This game right here is an old idea. When I got saved, everything in my life, when I met Christ, everything in my life changed. This game was something I was working on for years prior to me actually meeting Christ. And he turned this thing completely upside down. Like the lead character, Elise, she was the bad guy in my initial game. She was a bad guy. So yeah, there's this I don't know, he takes you and just remakes you, and it's really cool to see that. This game is way different than it was when it first started, and God got me to take much bigger risks than when I was doing it in a secular sense, you know. And I was like, wow. I was not expecting that, because, you know, you think that God's this stuff, you're a white dude, you know what I'm saying, pointing his finger down at you all the time. He's not like that. So I was like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So that's why I pray that manifests someday in you and other people, and get to see what God really thinks about you, but doesn't think that you suck. He loves you. And I'd love to see what God manifests in your life, and the plot of land that God has inside of you too, and to manifest that to its true degree. I'd love to see that someday. And I'll encourage you to do that. I'll give you blueprints how to do that as I develop them. So anyway, find out ways to support me in the links in the description below about how to support this game in particular. There's a Patreon for it to transform it from obviously being an RPG Maker VX to an actual engine that can actually be ported to actual things. Lord willing, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves. You don't suck. You know, make better choices by being around better people who make better choices. And I say better people as in, you know, I'm better than you because I'm a superior human being, but better off humans. Yeah. So take care, God bless, and I love you very much. Bye bye.